You need to be a brand with values and with the customer or to share these values with. But for us, in terms of cost per acquisition, it's been quite game changer in the sense that we used to run acquisition mostly for promos.
Welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert's Perspective. Joining us today, we have Alan Ferrero, who is the Digital and Ecom Director at Camper. Camper is a Mediterranean brand operating in over 40 countries, 400 stores. So welcome, Alan. Thanks for joining.
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show. Today, Camper oversees over 400 stores in 40 countries. I'm curious to learn a bit more about yourself first and talk us through your career journey and how you ended up in your role at Camper.
Yeah, it's actually not the retail straightforward path, mine, because I started in an investment fund back in the days in a venture capital, which is Rocket Internet. I think is one of the major one in Europe for e-commerce and startups. Spent 4 years there, then moved from venture capital to private equity. So I joined Altamont Capital Partner, which is a private equity firm actually in the States. And I worked there on a project of digitalization of mountain bike MX brand, which is Fox Racing. I don't know if you know this one. And then back in Europe for COVID, I found this little gem in Mallorca, which is where Camper is based. They were looking for someone to revitalize and relaunch their digital ecosystem. Of course, after that, COVID proved that D2C and digital are actually essential for any brand.
Love it. Well, and as we all know, Camper recently celebrated its 50th birthday. Maybe talk to us a bit about that milestone. What does it mean to the brand? And have you guys talked a lot about what the next 50 years could look like?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're more focused on looking forwards than backwards. I think the funny part is that we call it 50 years young. So, we know that, ultimately the Camper or the brand roots are craftsmanship and really, it's quite a traditional brand. But because the brand has always been able to innovate and having this unique design philosophy, I think, future is definitely bright. Like we're seeing that our community is constantly renewing. We have a really good reach in Gen Z and younger generation. So yeah, absolutely. And also I think the brand is quite open to the new technologies, new materials, AI. I think we're really in a sweet spot to have another 50 great years ahead.
Amazing. Has Camper always been in over 40 countries digitally? And if not, talk us through how you're able to build initiatives that are flexible enough to cover 40 different countries effectively.
That's actually a good question. So Camper digital ecosystem has always been quite advanced in terms of features, but not that were rooted or developed in terms of volume, in terms of country reach and so on. I joined 3 years ago and let's say the project was already on its way. What really helped us making the difference was to move away from standard platform, building something really agile, scalable, and adaptable. We are ruling the e-commerce with a central team, because of course it's not possible to have 25 plus people team in each region. But despite this central engine, we really allow the regions to be quite, let's say, to have a lot of autonomy. Then another critical part that is something that we have switched in the past 12, 14 months is the part of content and localized content. Call it glocalized. So we provide global guidelines, but then regions are really have freedom in personalize the content, in using local influencer and so on. And ultimately, I think there's at the base of the digital ecosystem, there is the common understanding that we are a data-driven decision-making company. So, if you can raise your point being in HQ or in a region, but you need to be data-driven, you need to make sure that this is bringing profits or anyhow, it can be measured and it can be, and it's a robust point of view from a data perspective.
That's great. And you'd mentioned AI a bit earlier. Could you talk to us a bit about how you folks are looking at AI? Are you looking at it more as a tool to drive internal efficiencies? For example, generating content and efficiencies? Or are you looking at it more as a tool to help drive conversion on the website, or maybe both? Talk to us about your philosophy on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's be honest, AI is a game changer in any e-commerce, right? It's more if a brand or if a company is keen and open to adopt it or not. I'm also hearing sometimes, I'm hearing some comments from interviews and so on about, is AI going against or camper craftsmanship and so on, and or brand authenticity? I mean, I don't think so at all. I think AI is a tool and can absolutely enhance the part of values of a brand and not replace them. So we use AI mostly to personalize the customer experience. So making sure that each customer who lands on the website, who receives our communication, can have the best quality or the most relevant interaction for him or herself. I think we're also, let's say, I was mentioning before, to not replace craftsmanship, but actually to enhance it, because we also use AI in the design process, in the material selection, in production efficiency. So I think this is not replacing the where we come from or our roots. And yeah, and craftsmanship really remains at the core or at the heart of the brand. There's also an important part where we use AI, which I was forgetting, which is, we call it smarter inventory and sustainability, because all the stock is connected worldwide, and because there is a software which is really optimizing what can be sold in which channel and so on, we're really seeing a heavy reduction in our overproduction and waste. And also we use this data to have a better buy for the next seasons. So yeah, I mean, I think AI is truly a game changer for us.
Is there any AI experiments that you folks ran that you had to stop because it wasn't working, whether customer facing or internally?
Many, actually. So there are more unsuccessful projects than the one that actually they were able to drive value. We were not successful with visual merchandising. I think we're still looking for a solution there. I would say the predefined tools or the tool that you buy all itself, they're not working for us. They're not producing any efficiency. We are not using generative AI to produce content. This one, I mean, it's not a matter of metrics. It's a company decision not to stay true to ourselves and to control it. And for us, it's also a matter to deliver higher quality to our consumer. So those for me are the two areas where we've been failing despite many trials.
That's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, both of those, but especially on the content production side. Okay, cool. Well, maybe talk to us a bit about what is the Walking Society program? What is that? Maybe give us a brief description, and yeah, curious how that's kind of shaped into your broader strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Walking Society is our, let's say, is our community. It's not just loyalty program. It really reflects camper philosophy, camper values, creativity, and of course our roots, the Mediterranean. We decided, actually, I discussing with the CEO 3 years ago, we decided to heavily invest in our CRM and also to give a name that can really represent our community, and that's how we ended up with the Walking Society. Again, I think it's quite different from other loyalty programs because we don't give points. You barely get some. I mean, I think you get something back from the brand because most of our latest release and special products and so on are exclusive for the community. But more than being, like this type of points program, it's really a space where we want to engage with our consumers. We live this Walking Society. We keep it for storytelling, for kind of a cultural exchange with our consumer.
That's great. Maybe talk us through how that's actually impacted some of your main KPIs around LTV or customer acquisition costs. Like, would you recommend implementing a system like this?
Absolutely. I mean, of course, you need to be a brand with values and with the customer or to share these values with. But for us, in terms of cost per acquisition and so on, it's been quite game changer in the sense that we used to run acquisition mostly for promos. Okay, so private promos, early access, and so on. And then one day, like when we launched this program, we just said, like, why don't we switch heavily, like 30, 40% of the total acquisition budget towards this meaningful program. And we started from 10, 20, and then I think now we aim this year to be 50% of our acquisition effort. And it's, being honest with you, is a lot of work because always providing exclusive content, providing sustainable initiatives, and maybe some collaboration with artists or people that really want to change the industry. It's difficult, right? It's not as cheap as running promo, but we do believe that this is super important for our consumer, and we're seeing the results back.
Amazing. And as we kind of reflected at the beginning, you came from a VC and a private equity background, and then you joined the brand Camper. Maybe talk to us a bit about one of the most pivotal decisions you made at Camper that has led to kind of one of the biggest outcomes for the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing is, Camper reality is quite different from any companies I've worked with before. And also Camper management has a really long-term view, which is quite exceptional for me. Like I'm used to startups or companies that the business plan, the 3 or 5 years business plan is normally ends with an acquisition or anyhow like a public offering. Camper, the discussion with the CEO, like it has really been built to last. I think one discussion we had at the beginning, I remember when I joined, one of the questions for him was, look, like, how do you foresee Camper? Like, what will be the greatest achievement for Camper? And he was saying me like, you know what? The greatest achievement will be if I can run this company together with my son and my grandson. So this is a complete different perspective. And this is why for me, like the company is so special based on my background. And in terms of decision, everything again is finalized to make this business long lasting. So from the relationship with the consumers, from the way we tackle in the channels and the profitability and so on. Going back to your question, so together with the company, what we decide is that instead of giving to each channel sales targets, we will be extremely focused on profitability and we will be extremely focused on customer experience. So being said, having this in mind, we have a lot of strategies, a lot of tactics, and a lot of decisions that are really focused on these two objectives.
Amazing. Looking forward for 2025, maybe talk to us a bit about some of the things that are top of your priority list and some of the things that you think are top priority list in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a little bit what we are discussing until now are, I think, are a priority for any type of brand. So keep investing in CRM, keep investing in a program that really keep our consumer closer. AI is also another big topic and we have some big surprise there. Hopefully we'll be able to release them and really drive new and differential experience for our consumer. But on top of everything, I think for 2025, it will really be a year of celebration. The company is preparing some great events, more or less in every region where we are. So in Europe, US, Asia Pacific, we are probably skipping Latin America, but I would say it will be a great year of celebration. So I can't wait for it.
And as we look to wrap up, talk to us a bit about how you folks have brick and mortar stores as well as obviously a digital presence. How have you kind of leveraged your brick and mortar stores to also drive your digital strategy? Talk to us a bit about like the omni-channel effect there.
Yes, I think this is a point where Camper is extremely advanced and it was already advanced before I joined. So all the stock of Camper is truly connected and is sellable everywhere. And on top of this, it means that if you have a shoe in the stores, potentially you can buy from any website of the company worldwide. Vice versa, if you have a shoe at the central warehouse, if you go to any store, this is purchasable via iPad and shipped in probably a couple of days to wherever you are. On top of these, all processes from the purchase and refund and return, of course, to all our sustainable programs like repairing, like take back and recrafted, all those are truly omnichannel. Like you can take advantage of them both in stores, online, even in our department stores, so even to our partners. So yeah, I think the company has been an early adopters and is making omnichannel one of its strengths.
Amazing. Well, thanks, Alan, so much for your time. It was a great episode. Congrats again on the 50-year anniversary. You folks are 50 years young, and we're excited to see what the next 50 years looks like for Camper.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep you posted, guys.
The E-Commerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives is brought to you by Noibu. To find out more about Noibu and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noibu.com. That's Noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the E-Commerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noibu, thanks for listening.